Hey, what's up? I'm Adamo. If you're new here and if you're returning, then you know what's good. Today, I want to talk about visualization and why I think it's such a useful and practical tool to use when you're on the journey to achieving any goal, really, to be honest. And I always like to bring you things that I've tried out, processes that I've kind of worked through and tried to refine myself. And that's what I'm pretty much here to do today. Talk about visualization. I know sometimes I think it gets put in the bracket with some of the more airy, fairy things that, find its way into the mainstream, but it is really, really useful. And I've used it in my own life throughout, even if I haven't called it visualization, to help achieve my goals and stay on track. And so, you know what? Let's just get into it. So what is visualization? Well, put very simply, it is the formation of a mental image of something. That is it. Right? It's not something that exists in this physical reality in the here and now, maybe in full or partially. You've created this image, or perhaps it is something that's actually in motion, like a video, a scene that often you will find yourself in, but it exists only there in your mind. So they say a picture speaks 1,000 words, and often people encourage you in presentations and stuff to use images if possible versus a slurry or a blur of words, right? We're really visual creatures and we interact well with images and with video, right? Just because of how much we rely on that sense on a day-to-day basis. But what's really interesting though is that studies have shown that the parts of our brain that light up when we perform an activity, such as playing the piano or rock climbing, whatever it is, those same parts of the brain light up when we watch someone do that, i.e., we're watching an image, right? We're watching a video, watching something occur, but we're not actually partaking in it. And yet the same parts of our brains are lighting up. Why that's so powerful is that means that we can almost simulate those activities and stimulate those neurological pathways in the same way we might do if we were actually performing the activity itself. And whilst it isn't obviously to the same intensity as actually performing it, if we can even harness a little bit of that by just visualizing ourselves doing that activity or watching someone else do it, and then, placing ourselves in that scene, well, then we can unlock all of the things that come with that. And if that's sounding all a little bit abstract, just think back to a time you've had a really vivid daydream, right? Like, those feelings that come with that daydream can be really intense, and we can often have physical reactions to this daydream, right? Which is effectively an act of visualization. It's a mental image of something. But notice sometimes if you're really fearful, like you may start shaking or you may start clamming up, or like I've had times when like I found myself actually my hand is in a fist for something if it's really like a negative situation, and you're like, wow, I'm not even in that actual situation. But also like when it's a really positive experience, you find yourself smiling and you like zoned out for a while, but you're like smiling and actually sometimes even moving, and then you snap back and realize, wait a minute, I'm literally in the middle of class. Everyone's looking at me grinning at my teeth. Okay, so that's what visualization is. But I guess then the next logical question is, how can that be useful when trying to achieve a goal? The thing about a lot of the goals that we want to achieve in this life, they require some sort of short-term sacrifice in exchange for the long-term benefits. For example, you don't eat a piece of cake now and gain all of that positive stimulation of, the chemicals that are released when you eat that, the feel-good taste and sensation in your mouth. There's so much going on. But then you do that too often and you've sacrificed your long-term goal, which may be to become healthier, to lose some fat, so forth, so forth. So you've got to give up that cake now to get to that long-term goal. But that's quite difficult, right? Because there's a part of your brain, the more archaic part of your brain, that leans towards these very immediate senses of gratification, effectively, right? Short-term gratification. And it's a useful part of the brain. It has been, and it's linked to our survival and evolution. But in a world where there's so much going on and where temptation is everywhere, and something that can potentially lead to short-term gratification is just around the corner, whether it's on the internet, whether it's in a shop, whatever it is, that's not obviously great for our long-term goals. So bringing it back to visualization. So one of the ways I find visualization so powerful in helping with goal achievement is it allows one to harness the emotions that come with that visualization. Now, the thing about us is we are driven by our emotions effectively. We like to think we're really logical, but it is largely emotions that drive action. And so if you can harness the emotions associated with a visualization, you can help use that to drive you forward towards your goal. I'll give you an example of times that I've used it. So imagining myself in the physique that I want, right? With the more muscle, less body fat, and how I feel in that, how I feel in my clothes in that situation, right? How I feel as I strut down the street, or, you know, I'm on holiday, I'm on the beach, and I have that visualization, that picture in my head, maybe even that picture of health, of being in the gym and lifting a lot. And how does that feel? The pride that comes with that, the happiness, the joy, the sense of achievement, the sense of accomplishment. And suddenly I really want that. And so all those things that would stop me from achieving that don't seem as appealing, because in this moment I think about, if I don't do this stuff, I'm not going to get to that end goal. And I'm not even going to be able to embark as successfully on this journey towards the goal. The same thing can actually be done with negative emotions. Whilst I try my hardest to draw on positive emotions, because I just think positivity, you know, drives positivity, that sort of stuff. Negative emotions can also be useful in deterring you from doing things. I'll take another example, actually, from investing. So I've started investing in things, and I've tried to stop spending money on trash, basically, like clothes and things that I don't really want in a few days anyway. So why am I? Anyway. And so I think about how I'm going to feel if I put my money into spending this on Pretty Little Things or this shop, or instead of just putting the money into my investments. Then I think about, well, I'm not going to be able to see my investments grow. I'm not going to be able to see myself progressing financially towards financial freedom. All these things that I visualize so vividly for myself, and being in a place where I am financially free, where I am having multiple streams of income, and I don't get there because I decided to buy those clothes. And I don't want that. I don't want that feeling of disappointment, that feeling that comes after you do something that you know is adverse to your goals. Yeah, but there are so many ways where you can see where the power of harnessing emotions can be really useful. The second way visualization can be really helpful is in providing your mind something to focus on, right? A lot of times the reason why goals are so hard to achieve is they seem so ambiguous, right? They seem so wishy-washy, so far away, and we're like, I don't know about that. And your mind's not really that convinced either. So, I mean, where are we going with this? If your conscious mind isn't really convinced, and you're not even convinced, like, it's just not going great. But if you keep feeding your mind, like we said, the same areas of the brain are stimulated when we think and visualize things as when we actually do those things or achieve those things or get to those goals. And so if we can encourage the mind to see those images and view ourselves in those scenes, well, then suddenly it doesn't seem so ambiguous, right? Like, I literally make an effort to think about myself in these positions that I want to be in, into the future, the person that I want to be. And then it doesn't seem so crazy, so ambiguous. I know what I want. And it's a lot easier to go after your goals when you really know what they are and what they might look like. And perhaps the final way this is so interesting and useful is in identity creation. Now, if you've seen my video on habits, or if you've read Atomic Habits, you understand that identity creation is a really important feature in adopting and maintaining habits, but also in moving towards a life that you want and creating systems that allow you to maintain the goals that you've already achieved or progress towards them. And also just kind of enjoy the journey. Identity creation is all about who you are, what you stand for. What is it that makes up you? And if, say, you want to see yourself as a really health conscious person, then it's important that you do things that provide evidence that you are that, a health conscious person, i.e. eating well, i.e. going to the gym or working out. But again, if we can visualize ourselves doing these things, as well as actually doing them, then that's another way that we can start feeding our mind evidence that we are what we say we are, right? Like, it's not so hard to believe that I could be someone who saves thousands or, you know, goes to the gym every day if I'm also visualizing myself in these positions, stimulating that, and then also, you know, taking the action that comes with it. Because, I mean, caveat, you can't just visualize the stuff. Like, you can't just picture yourself going to the gym or saving money. You got to do it. And so I just find it really interesting, all of the literature around this and the experiments that other people do, but also that you find yourself doing when you come into contact with this information. And identity creation is something really big in itself that, like I said, I've spoken about it in that video, so check that out if you want more. But yeah, those are some of the ways that visualizations can help you with driving towards your goals. So to finish off, I just wanted to give some quick tips for if you're wanting to implement this as a tool, or if you just fancy trying it out, and ways that you can make it work for you. The first tip about visualization is when you do hold these images in your mind where you are visualizing, you want to make them as vivid as possible, which means drawing on as many senses as possible, drawing on color, on sound, on touch if possible, right? We know that the most intensely stimulating experiences, the ones that stimulate our senses the most, are often the ones that we remember, right? Whether there was a loud sound or whether there was a particular taste, like quite a strong taste, a sharp taste. All these things help create these neurological pathways and pathways that persist. So the next point I want to make is actually about the journey itself towards your goal and actually prioritizing small steps towards it. And the reason why is because every time you take a step towards your goal and are closer to that goal, you have actually more physical evidence that you can feed into your visualizations. It gets easier to see yourself in that final place when you're seeing yourself progress towards it, right? And like, I keep drawing on the fitness one because it's easier. Say you see yourself lifting 100 kilos, but now you've seen yourself and seen what it feels like and felt the experience and heard the experience of lifting a weight. Well, now you can feed that into your visualizations and make them more vivid. And like we said, the more vivid they are, the more powerful they become, and the more you can draw on the emotions. You can allow it to help focus you and, enhance your identity creation. Leading on from that is, as well as seeing yourself do it, it's often drawing on other people's experiences, which is why I think I love YouTube so much, is because you can see other people doing it. There's that saying that if you can see it, then you can believe it and you can achieve it. And this is true. Sometimes it's hard to come up with a visualization from scratch, especially if you have no idea what that would look like in practice. And so drawing on other people's experience can be helpful in filling out some of your visualizations, which leads me on to the next point, which is about vision boards, which can also be very helpful. Again, if you're not too interested in videos, then just creating a vision board, and I mean, vision boards are part of visualization, as their name may suggest. But yeah, make yourself a vision board or a vision book where you get a collection of images that relate to the goals that you want to achieve that can help feed your visualizations. The next step is about visualizing regularly and often. And again, it all leads to that. The more practice you get in these, the more you can draw on the emotions, you can draw on the experiences, you can pull these visualizations, these images, these scenes out with greater ease and draw on all the things that come with them. So do it often. I like to often do this before bed. I think it's a really good time to do it. Just when you're just lying down, it's just you. And you can think about what it is that you want to achieve, how you see yourself, where you see yourself, what you will become. And my final point is about questions and asking yourself questions. If you have no idea where to start, ask yourself, what if? What if I saved more money? What if I put this money in investments? What if I swapped out this food for that food? What if I went for a walk more? What if I went to the gym 3 times a week? All right. What if I chose this career path? What if I chose to spend 10 minutes a day coding and learning to code instead of being on Instagram? What if? What does that look like? What does it look like when you achieve what you want to achieve? Where do you sit? What does your environment look like? Who's around you? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? What does it feel like? Right? What if? So ask yourself those questions. So that's it. That's all I have to say about visualizations. I think it's a really powerful tool to use, and it's one that I have used time and time again. Even if, like I said, I haven't always been calling it visualizations. But yes, let me know what you think. Let me know if you've tried visualizations, how you feel about it, and I will see you in the next video.